Yeah, demon converted man here. Ah, your soul is mine. Ah, nom nom nom. Ah, demons and angels and heaven and hell. What the evidence shows from Lee Strobel, maybe God podcast. Oh, God. Why? Why? It's not going to have anything. I know it's not going to have anything. You know it's not going to have anything. Let's see. What's the description say? Are angels and demons real? No. Do they still interact with us today? No. Is there solid evidence for heaven and the afterlife beyond the Bible? No. Also, the Bible isn't evidence of anything. What can we learn from supernatural experiences? Nothing. There aren't any, including deathbed visions and NDEs. Nothing. Metadata studies on NDE do not show them to be anything significant, and so far, we've never had anybody tell us anything real from an NDE, so we should doubt that they're a thing other than something that people report having happened to them near at times of near death, after death. It's hard to say. In this eye-opening conversation, best-selling author and former atheist bullshit Lee Strobel talks about his new book, Seeing the Supernatural, which you can't do because the supernatural can't be seen. It's demons, man. I don't know how the Tommy Chung voice sounds. Did I get it right? I don't know. What did I say? Oh, seeking the supernatural, drawing from scripture, so bullshit, real life accounts, yeah, right, and scientific inquiry, bullshit. Strobel investigates the unseen realm. No, you didn't. And reveals why he believes the invisible world is not only real, but closer than we think. Ooh, spooky. Lee also shares a deeply personal story. I'm sure he made it up. An encounter where he believes an angel spoke directly to him. He's insane. Got it. A moment that left a lasting mark on his faith. Order his new book at sketchy link here. Watch Catholic Exorcists Expose the Truth About Satan and Demons at some link. Watch Agnostic Engineer's Life Radically Transformed by NDEs. There's a link. Subscribe, link. Support this thing. Here's a link that didn't link correctly. Follow, and then chapters, and no citation to anything. So now I would think if it was scientific, there'd be like, I don't know, some science there to link to, some peer-reviewed paper, maybe some papers on NDEs or something. Nah, there's not. So of my time, energy, and everything else. And it's 59 minutes and 49 seconds long. Oh, God. We're going to be here forever. All right. Well, I got nothing better to do this All Hallows Eve, also known as Halloween. I was looking for proof of demons and stuff. And, this was, posted just a few days ago, so it's good enough for me. Well, not a few days ago, actually, May 24th. That's not a few days ago. That's quite a, whatever. Time is relative. I'm related to time. All right. Anyways, let's do this.
Are angels and demons real?
Oh, thanks for asking. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember to be... Wait, what?
And if so, what impact do they have on our everyday lives?
None, since they're not real. Here's some more AI-generated content, though.
Is there credible evidence for heaven and hell beyond the pages of the Bible?
No, and also, like I said, the pages of the Bible aren't evidence, they're a story.
Today, investigative journalist and former atheist...
You mean former investigator. He was never an atheist. I don't believe that, not even for a moment. He didn't investigate anything, and this has been demonstrated multiple times.
Lee Strobel shares what he uncovered in his latest investigation into the unseen realm and why he believes the supernatural world is more real than what we think.
It's more real than what you think. Okay, so if you think it's real, it's more real than real. What the fuck does that mean? All right, here we go. This is going to be...
Lee Strobel Welcome to Maybe God.
Well, thanks. Great to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Man, it's good to have you back. You know, I was thinking the last time we had you on Maybe
Let's
God
just get to the
for your
point.
time
All right,
today.
what's the chapters? Why he wrote the book? I don't care. Does science disprove God? Oh, God, let's go to that.
Proves Christianity.
Yeah.
And so,
okay, wait, let's go back.
Sure. You've talked about in your book a study that you commissioned in 2023 where nearly half of American adults, 46%, strongly or somewhat agree that science contradicts or disproves Christianity.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thread to
right.
pull.
Okay, now notice it said, however many, 58 something, whatever percent of people, which hopefully we can get those numbers higher, people think that science disproves aspects of Christianity, which is not God at all. So the chapter is a lie. So why did Maybe God podcast lie about the name of the chapter? I wonder if they're going to switch topics from disproving Christianity or aspects of it to disproving God. Now, that would be dishonest. They're not going to do that, are they?
On here
That's
is
right.
this idea that science or naturalism can explain objective reality, objective truth, and only, in some cases, people would say only science can do that.
That's right. I actually did a book recently. My previous book to this one is called Is God Real? And it looks at that issue, and it looks at science, cosmology, the origin of the universe, physics.
Okay, so you mean you didn't understand cosmology because in cosmology, cosmologists don't say there was a beginning. Like maybe a couple do, but most cosmologies don't include a beginning of the universe because we don't know if there was one exactly. Oh, and those that do, have competing ideas. So you're and it's a book, not a peer-reviewed paper. So you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Strobel.
The fine-tuning of the universe, biological information or DNA and how that points toward a creator.
Oh my God. It's not information the way you think. It doesn't point to anything. You're a nitwit. You don't know what you're talking about.
And I build a case from science that points toward the existence of God.
No, you don't. You misconstrued what science says, and they make sloppy, malformed arguments that are not valid or sound. I mean, maybe they're valid. I doubt it, though. And, this stuff looks like God, blah, blah, whatever. It's just, whatever.
So I think science is a great friend of Christianity.
Well, it's not, though. See, notice how they went, like, it disproves aspects of Christianity. Now, as a skeptic, I'm interested in the claim. Okay, well, what aspects of Christianity? Because that's kind of a loose pull. Do you think science disproves Christianity? Like, what was the question? How was the question framed? That's very important. Different questions invoke different answers. Like on my survey, if you haven't taken it yet, please do. I don't necessarily have a time frame for when I'm gonna close it or whatever. Just I'm kind of waiting to see if I can get a couple more people to do anything or whatever. But I've got a good amount of feedback on it. But I asked multiple questions in different ways, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is you need to really construct your survey in a way that doesn't that gets the true answer that the person has in their brain. And if you load a question, you're not going to get that answer. So if you say, well, do you think Christianity disproves God? I would say it cannot do that. That's not what science does. Science doesn't disprove. It only can indicate or verify. It can only study. Disproving, that's more like in the realm of skepticism or something. You can show that something is not scientific with science. For example, Adam and Eve, they're disproven completely in full by biological evolution. Now, that's the specific claim that would be interesting to study as a skeptic, right? So you're going to make a claim. You're going to say, okay, X many people think that science disproves Christianity. in certain aspects. And I'd say, what aspects are those, so we can find out what aspects they think science is disproving. And then I'd also ask, why do you think that it disproves it in this way? Now let's investigate the question, Strobel. I thought you were investigative. So you commission a survey that's completely useless. Good job.
And I think, especially over the last 50 years, we've had a series of discoveries in biology, in fine-tuning of the universe, physics, and in...
Again, with the fine-tuning, I just got asked this question the other time, about fine-tuning. It's not this, magical thing that these apologists need it to be. First of all, it seems like a misunderstanding of the actual science. And I can't find the video now, but there's at least one video, maybe more, where scientists was talking about fine tuning. It was like, well, it's all it means is we need better physics. Like, there's these parameters that exist, and they would go, okay, cool, that's it. Why are they this way? It's just that's the way they are. There isn't a deeper reason to it. That's just how they are. And we go, well, that's really neat. But they say, well, if it was different, then consequence would be whatever. But unless you've done the model to prove that that's true, I don't know that you can really honestly claim that. As far as I know, there isn't a universe simulator that we run on a computer to show how our universe unfolded, let alone how other universes could unfold. The computing power required for that would be, I'd imagine, immense. So instead, you have to rely on mathematics and formulas and things like this, which, yes, you could do in a computer, but there isn't, as far as I know, maybe there is a simulator that's like, okay, put in the parameters and I will simulate a universe being born from those parameters. Like, here, gravity is, 1 through a million, whatever, or negative a million to positive a million. What would it look like? Well, if gravity was super weak, then nothing would come together. And, well, then you would have all these particles that might not even attract to each other. So you wouldn't have atoms. You wouldn't have the building blocks of the reality we know. But that doesn't mean that life is impossible. Now, the life part is what they focus on in the fine-tuning, which I also find suspect. Why are you focusing on life? Why is that important? We have a universe, okay, and we have life in a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of that universe that we know of. Okay, but why are you focusing so much on life as if that's the anomaly that needs to be explained? So you're trying to explain something that you already are thinking is something that needs explaining, when actually the question shouldn't be anything to do with life. It's just, well, these parameters are this way. Now, what would happen if they were different? I don't know. Let's find out. We'd have to do a simulation to find out. But as far as I know, they don't do that. They just say, well, if gravity was really small, then, it wouldn't work. And, well, that might be the case. Things would fly apart. And we don't know what that looks like, though. So how can we say that that wouldn't result in some sort of universe? And again, the life part is tacked on because that's the thing that they're aiming at, as if life is a goal that the universe is headed towards. And I think this is a very fundamental misconstruing. It is equivalent to thinking that biological evolution is headed towards perfection and that humans are at the peak of evolution perfection or something like this. No. If anything, trilobites have it figured out pretty dang well. Those little critters have been around forever. So they've got it. They've got the evolution things pat. They're doing fine. So humans are an anomaly in that sense. of evolved creatures, and now we're thrusting ourselves towards inevitable extinction by our actions. Well, we're not the first life to do that. The first life that did that was, chemical the plants way back when that ate carbon monoxide, produced oxygen, and then wind up like killing most of themselves off. But then that new reality where it's an oxygen rich environment allows for new stuff to be produced. So, hey, yeah, we'll kill off humanity and tons of creatures along with us by polluting our atmosphere, but that might then give rise to something else that can develop in that hostile environment that now exists, something that feeds off of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and whatever else chemicals we put in there in a hotter environment, etc. So life, finds a way if it can. It might be it's too fast and accelerated for life to do it. I don't know. But regardless, the idea that the universe produces life is wrong. The universe doesn't know anything. It just is. And life is a happenstance, not a goal. So I think the whole fine-tuning thing that the apologists get like they're giddy about is just a big giant ball of nothing. Anyways, let's listen to this nitwit.
Cosmology, the origin of the universe, just in the last 50 to 80 years, that I think have made the case stronger than ever for the existence of a creator who matches the description of the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, it does, really. It matches. So somehow fine-tuning, which isn't a thing, and DNA somehow point to the God of the Bible? How?
I loved how I love your approach because I think like a skeptic, even now that I'm a Christian, and I think you.
Oh, man, I almost did a spit take. I was just taking a drink of soda, and I'm not on camera, so, you can be skeptical that I'm doing that. I was just drinking some soda when he said, I think like a skeptic, and I almost did a spit take. No, you don't. You don't know. No, you do not think like a skeptic, because I would have asked like a bazillion questions like I just did. I would have made all the counterpoints that I just did. So no, this guy, he's just the dunderhead that's the host here. He's just the sounding board for Lee.
You do too, just because of your training. And
no, he doesn't.
You start out by really dismantling the most powerful competing worldview to the supernatural worldview, which is, I guess it's a materialism, scientific, naturalism that you might, might say is its own sort of religious worldview in a way.
No, let's 2Q it. No, naturalism, materialism, in my view only, are basically the same thing. And maybe they go too far in saying that everything is material natural. I can't make that statement. So I would say I'm a localized materialist naturalist, and that the local phenomenon I'm able to know about and observe are material, physical in nature. There is no supernatural anything until you demonstrate that it is a thing. They falsely think that if they can somehow disprove the natural, which you cannot do, that makes no coherent sense, that means that their idea is then true. And that's not how it works. Because the only way that could work is if it was a true dichotomy. In order for a dichotomy to be, you have to know that both are true states. So we can think of a light switch, and it's either on or off. Well, if there's power connected and flowing to the electrical grid, then it can be on or off. But if there is no power, then it is off for all effective matters. You can quibble about the language, but it's not on. It's definitely not on. It can never be on. So you don't have a dichotomy anymore. And so you could say, okay, well, the flip of the switch, it could be either up or down. Okay, now you have a true dichotomy. Unless, of course, you flip the switch on its side. Now it can only be left or right. But you still have something that could be one thing or the other, 0 or 1. It's a binary thing. But in those cases, those are all things you can demonstrate are actual things. Whereas the natural is something that we can demonstrate fully without any problem. The supernatural cannot, has not, will never be demonstrated, period. Because there's nothing you can point to and proclaim it's supernatural. How do you know that? What is it? It's a nonsense idea that's constructed and defined into being. It is a category that you cannot explore. It is magic. That's what it is. Just to say it's the magical world versus the real world. That's really what you're talking about. You're talking about make believe versus reality. If you had proof of it, then you couldn't have it. That's the other paradox of it, is that proof of the supernatural would then categorize it as natural, and then it wouldn't be anymore. So the only way to point to something and say that's supernatural is to appeal to complete and total ignorance. If we saw something and we didn't understand it, and then say, well, that's supernatural, that is an appeal to ignorance. Even if it seems like it's something that it's inexplicable. I did a story on my channel a while back related to this, not a lot of people watched it. So, it's okay, 98 views. That's not horrible, but it could have been better. I called it The Cube. I'll put that in the link in the description of whatever and put it in chat. And then in that, I have things happen in the story, but basically, let me get the thing up here. There we go. So thanks, ChatGPT, for turning me into anime and for making this Pumpkinhead. Yeah, good times. Anyway, so that's the only thing I used ChatGPT for, was the different pictures in this story. The rest is just I made up the story, and there you go. So this red cube is floating in the air, and nobody can figure out why or how or whatever. And that's it. It's just a mystery, and it's not solvable. It doesn't get solved, and well, of course, people are going to respond in different ways to it. But is it a miracle? Well, I don't know, but I can't claim that it is, just because I don't understand it. But the supernatural person would have to say, of course it's supernatural, because I can't understand it. So the supernatural is the logical fallacy of an appeal to ignorance.
Because science explains everything. But what is scientific materialism, and why is it so persuasive to so many today?
Because it's real. You can actually test it and verify it. Answers in Atheism did a quick little video talking about Rebecca, who I've never I barely interacted with her. I'd like to talk to her one of these days, see what's going on in her brain. And she doesn't understand biological evolution and thinks that if it's true, it means there's no God or something like that. I'm like, well, I guess then there's no God. And she doesn't want to be educated on it, because again, she believes that if she becomes that, then she'll not believe in God. And again, to reference myself, because what else am I going to do other than reference my own material? I I have a spooky stories that might be made up by me, Boo. That were all 3 stories that may or may not be made up that I provide for your entertainment. And in one of those stories, a person becomes convinced of something, and then that leads to a consequence for that belief. So this idea is I'm going to protect myself from ever knowing that this is forbidden knowledge, as Aaron Ra puts it. If I ever learn this is true, then my faith is ruined. So I can never learn about it. I can never explore it. I can never know anything about it. I have to reject it full. That's it. And I'll just keep telling myself that it's not true no matter what. Because I've convinced myself that if it is true, then this other thing is true, and that means I can't believe the thing that I want to believe, that I'm used to believing, and that would be really bad. Anyways, I don't know.
You know, it's a good question because it's actually self-refuting. So in other words, to say, listen to one sentence. The sentence goes, science is the only arbiter of what is true.
Okay, but who made that claim? Did anyone actually make that claim, or are you just claiming that somebody did? Like, this is not a statement that anyone's actually made, making it a construct straw man. But yeah, okay, I'll take on that challenge. That sentence is true.
Well, that is not a scientific statement.
Yeah.
Actually, it is. If we include logic in science. So is informal and or formal logic subsets of science? I'd like to think so. That makes me a scientist. But if you said no, then okay, fine. But then I guess it's just depends on our preference of what we think is or isn't in science, I suppose, So I'd be like, hey, math, physics nerd and Captain Desk and Trusty Ape, do you guys think that informal/formal logic are subsets of science? And then you'd either say yes or no. Happy Halloween to Captain Desk. Thank you. And so then we'd be like, okay, we all agree that it's a subset of science. So then that's how we're going to use the word science. And so then, yes, indeed, you could use logic to prove logic because that's how the damn thing works. In fact, you can't prove logic any other way but to prove logic with logic. And it's like, well, that's circular. No, it's based on some tautology and some what's the other word? Where it must be so. What's the word? I can't think of the word. All right, let's play this nitwit while I try to figure out the word I'm thinking of.
So that is a philosophical statement. You can't test that scientifically, and so it's self-refuting.
Right.
So to make the claim that science.
Yeah, I thought of it. It's axiom. That's the word I was trying to think of. Axiom. So yeah, logic is built on some tautologies and axioms. But once you grant that, then you're off on running. And you could waste your time and energy, spin your wheels, and be like, I don't want to grant those axioms or tautologies. I was like, well, you might as well say that reality isn't real then and give up because you're never going to go forward. You have to. And again, Answers in Atheism mentioned this in his little broadcast he did today, where we all start with some assumption of some sort. And it's like, well, although you don't think of it in that term, you really don't. You don't step out of bed thinking, hey, my floor is going to hold my weight today. You just assume that it's going to because there's no reason to think about it. It has always held your weight in the past, so there's no reason to change your mind about it. Now, if it gives under and breaks, that would be surprising, and you would be shocked and surprised by that. But that's a very unlikely. And then you've never fallen through solid matter. Well, maybe today you will. No, because that's not how physics has ever worked. But it could. Well, no, it's however, whatever the percentage of like one particle of you might make it through, but the improbability of your entire thing making it through all at once at the same time and not killing you is whatever stupid number that it is, and so it's basically at that point it's not going to happen. So we don't need to assume that anymore. It's just so obviously true that solid matter doesn't pass through solid matter, and the only time you see that happen is in the quantum realm, which isn't solid matter anymore, not technically at least. self-affirming facts. Yeah, axiom. Was it XI? How do you spell AXIUM? Is that it? Axiom? Axiom. Axiomatic. Yeah, there it is. No, just axiom. Axiom. Yeah, there it is. There it is. That's the word. That's what I wanted. Get out of here, you damn thing. Post it correctly. That axiom. So this is a statement accepted as true without proof, serving as a starting point for further reasoning in various fields like logic, mathematics, and philosophy. Okay, so now, of course, the precept goes, well, God's that. To which I would say, well, good job. You've now rendered God as an object of the mind, because axioms are objects of the mind. So good job. Anyways, back to these nitwits. What are they saying? Oh, God. Why do I want to like take a red hot chili pepper and shove it in his mouth? And I'm sure that the singer would not appreciate that. Pour some butter on me. Whatever.
Can explain everything is not a scientific claim.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Sure it is. But how about this? Everything except for this sentence can be proved using science. Now what, idiot? Now what are you going to do? Right? Because I was clever there. See what I did? So everything except for this sentence can be proven by science. Also, here we go. Here's a different one. Everything except for this paragraph can be proven by science. Also, this paragraph is immune from logic and reason. There you go. Now what are you going to do, idiot? Yeah. So if the host was a skeptic, he'd ask questions like this, but the host isn't. There's just a sounding board for this nitwit to say his things that he's saying. All right. Does he actually get to prove scientific material deathbed visions? Oh, God. Let's just go to that.
What surprised you? I know you set out with a mission to write a book on these topics that we'll get into in just a second.
So that's the other thing. You set out to write a book about a topic. So it's like, well, I'm going to go and write a book about aliens. Well, geez, who am I going to talk to? The people that don't believe that the aliens have visited us, or the people that do? Well, obviously the people that do, because you talk to the people that don't, you're going to have you're going to have an interesting book, maybe, but like a book that says, no, there's no aliens. Okay, well, that's the end of that. You can only sell that book once. But if you say, oh, yes, there's aliens. Oh, now you have,
in more depth, but what surprised you based on what you expected to find and what you actually found in your research?
Well, one thing that surprised me is the evidence for pre-death visions, deathbed visions. These are visions that people have of the realm to come just before they die. This is different than near-death experience. And in a near-death experience, a person may be clinically dead, no brain waves, no respiration, no heartbeat, but they're going to be revived at some point. So they're coming back.
Yeah.
In a deathbed vision, they're about to die permanently. They're not coming back into this world. And they see something of the realm to come. And we see this in the Bible, in the book of Acts.
Okay, so whichever version that you have there, what you have is somebody saying, I'm seeing stuff while I'm dying. Your brain is shutting down. Of course you're going to see all sorts of shit. I mean, your brain is kind of programmed to do this. It dumps all these chemicals out. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, so right after death? Okay, I think that's incorrectly stated, because right after death you'd be dead, so it wouldn't matter what happened to you. Okay, the brain releases a stage of neurotransmitters contributing to near-death experiences. During death, the body releases chemicals like endorphins, serotonin, and DMT, and all these things that are released. So, and Psychology Today has a thing about that. So, At this other article says right at the moments before death, brain rats hooked up. They had brains of rats hooked up to machines, and they displayed a sudden surge in serotonin. So, yeah, this seems like something that the brain just dumps all these chemicals into you. Like the brain, at some level, I suppose, is aware that it's that the body is dying, or it might not be. It might just be, I don't know. There's some sort of, you know, reason to do this. Release all these chemicals. Some sort of evolutionary reason for it. I wouldn't know what that is. I don't know. But regardless, so yeah, you're gonna experience all sorts of shit. No kidding. How about? So here's the thing: is you just pump somebody with a bunch of these chemicals while they're alive, and you ask them what they experience, and guess what? They're gonna experience weird shit. Like if you tell them that they're dying, and then you pump them full of these serotonin chemicals, whatever. And what are you seeing? Oh, I'm seeing heaven. Oh my goodness. I'm dying. Oh my God. My body. I'm leaving my body. And then you're like, you're not dying, idiot. I was lying to you. I'm pretty sure that would be a non-approved study, but give me enough money, I'll run it. I don't care. Whatever.
Where Stephen, who's described as being full of the Holy Spirit, he's about to be stoned to death. He's on his deathbed, and he looks up and he sees the heavens open up, and he sees the Father and the Son together in heaven. And so there's a biblical precedent for this. And I was shocked by how common these deathbed visions are. There have been tens of thousands of these cases that have been investigated by scholars.
Investigated by scholars sounds nice, but first of all, I think honestly, it's just my view. You can disagree, let me know. I think the word scholar needs to just be thrown out at this point. What the hell is a scholar? Tell me, please. Who is a scholar? Am I a scholar? I've written on stuff. I've made tons of content about stuff. Am I a scholar of skepticism because of all the work I've produced? Shouldn't I be at this point? I can say I'm a scholar because there's nothing to stop me from saying that. So what makes somebody a scholar? There's nothing to this claim of scholarship. So it's a nothing statement. Anyways, supposedly people that you don't have a list of supposedly investigated this. Did they? What do you mean by investigate? Do you mean asked questions and recorded the answers? Because that's not an investigation. That's an interview. So because you're not listing the people, what procedures they made, how they went about it, this is just something we just dismiss in full. It's a non-statement. It's nothing of substance here. There have been people that have recorded what people claimed happened. Big deal. Do these all align or match up? No, actually. When you look at it, the wide variety of experiences is not all the same. They are different depending on the person's personal beliefs about religion. They are usually keyed towards that person's religion that they already have, and in some rare cases, religions that they are familiar with but aren't part of. And I don't know, maybe there is a couple of things that have happened where people have claimed it just to mess with the study, because, by the way, people can lie. I didn't know if you knew that, Strobel. But yeah, people can just make up shit and pretend that it's real. But at any rate, nobody, as far as I know, has had an experience that is not something of a religion that they didn't know anything about. And then that religion turns out to be real and true. So that hasn't been documented. So this suggests that the person is experiencing stuff of a religious nature because they're already familiar with that stuff. What would be more interesting is to collect stories from skeptics or atheists or whatever who have had some sort of experience. But here's the other problem. Okay, you can say there's lots of these cases. Sure. Yeah, okay. I'm not surprised by that. Again, the brain releases all these chemicals upon when it's near death. It should say upon death because that doesn't make sense. The brain releases chemicals when it thinks it's dying, something like that. And or under severe stress, perhaps that might be another way to put it. And you are ignoring the millions of cases where nothing happens. So it seems to me the standard status quo is nothing happens. And so the person who almost dies but doesn't, or that is about to die, isn't experiencing or seeing anything and just dies, doesn't tell you that, hey, by the way, well, I'm not experiencing anything weird, guys. Well, I'm about to die. Bye. And that's it. That's not a story that anybody would share or chronicle because nothing happened. It's like, hey, guys, I died, but I came back. And you know what happened? Nothing. I didn't see anything. Yeah, there was nothing there. I was dead, I guess. That's what they tell me. I didn't experience it. I just was gone here one moment, then I was back. That's all I know. So that's the status quo. Whereas some people sometimes have this other experience. So the norm is that people don't have any experience at all. That should tell us something interesting. So then that means that there's no, if you just studied that and you ignored all the hits, then you'd have the conclusion that there must not be any afterlife at all, because we're basing this completely, by the way, on people's subjective experience that they had in a time where the brain is releasing chemicals, and that we should be very skeptical of their altered state of reality perception. But nah, we're gonna ignore all that, you fraudly person.
One group of researchers went to a huge hospice facility in New York State. And they said to the dying people there, if you have an extraordinary vision before you pass, would you please tell us about it? Because we want to know. Because a lot of people are embarrassed by it, or they think you're going to think I'm weird, so they don't want to say anything. But they gave them permission. Tell us. 88% of them had a pre-death vision.
These were people that were terminally ill or something?
That's right. They're on their deathbed. They're in hospice. They're waiting to die.
Okay, so you told people, go ahead and tell us. So that primes people to behave in that manner, even if it's not true at that point. 88%. So what happened to the other percentage? What happened to the other people? Why didn't they experience anything? How do you account for that? How do you account for they didn't have any experience at all? Shouldn't it always be everybody always experiences this every time? That's what we would expect if there really was a there. How are they experiencing it is also important. Your brain experiences reality. If your brain is off, what is there to experience reality? The essence of you, called the spirit or the soul. How does that interact with the brain? How does the non-physical interact with the physical? There would be some way, shape, or form to indicate that there's something going on there, I would think. I suppose the closest that I could come to granting that there's something odd about death, well, definitely there's something odd about death, but in the sense of the spiritual, is that the people that are dead, their eyes look different than when they were alive. The light goes out, so to speak. And it's just something you notice, if you notice it at all, and then you're like, oh wow, that's the thing, And now I haven't seen this myself, so I don't know. I talked to my brother. He saw a couple of different people pass away, or well, they'd passed away, and he happened to see them afterwards. And I said, "Well, what'd they look like?" And he's like, "Yeah, you looked at their eyes, like they weren't there anymore." It's like, and there was this movie I watched based on a true story where the gal has she thinks that she's like autistic or something, and she gets really into horses and all this. But when the horse dies or when the person dies, she says, "Where do they go?" And it's this really profound question. It's like, yeah, where do they go? It's like they're not there anymore. It's just this, and it's just this dead animal now. They're not there. It's gone now. So they went somewhere, but where? And I'm like, yeah, it is kind of like that, And well, but she's assuming they went somewhere, and and it's like, well, there seems to be something that we can't quite understand that seems mystical or magical or supernatural, if I'm giving it my unskeptical, poetic look at it. But when I turn back, when I raise my skepticism on, it's, well, maybe we're seeing a light in the eyes and that's not really there. Or maybe when the person dies, the eyes do behave differently when someone's dead than when they're alive. And that's something we could actually study with science. We could measure the eyes of creatures during life and then exterminate them and see if the eyes change and then figure out why that happens. I don't know. I could even ask if that's a thing. Let's do that. I don't know. I'm bored. I'm going to do that. Ask ChatGPT. Hey, when someone dies, does their eyeballs look different? And if so, why? What's going on? All right. Let's see if ChatGPT. Yes, they do change and pretty fast. Circulation and oxygen delivery stops. Then the corneal clouding becomes cloudy or milky. Pupil changes. Loss of shine, glassy eyes, color shift. Well, there you go. It's a very boring, natural explanation. Well, thanks, ChatGPT. You ruined it. Now it's all mundane. Oh, well, there goes all the spiritual mumbo jumbo. But hey, now I know reality. Yeah, probably. All right, let's listen to this idiot. What else you got? So you got stories. Okay, what's your stupid personal story? I want to know about that. Eric's experience with deathbed visions. What's this?
Pastor comes with the territory, and I've seen and heard what you're talking about. Yes. And oftentimes it's given in a way that isn't even meant for the people around them to hear it.
Yes.
Like they're not even sometimes aware that anyone else is in the room. They're talking to someone, they're experiencing this. So it's very personal, very raw.
And they'll often reach up as if they're being taken. And
so that adds another layer.
Why would it be up? Okay? No, seriously, why would it be up? Why would that? Why wouldn't heaven be down or to the left or right? Why would it be up? What sense does that make? It's so stupid. So is heaven in outer space? The fuck?
Of credibility to these on top of near-death experiences where somebody comes back with a dramatic story to tell the world, and sometimes
it's just a fucking story. That's all.
They'll write a book about it and get famous and all that stuff. And here you just have someone in the most.
And a lot of times, and there's one time that young kid, he made up everything. His parents basically made it up for him and told him to lie to everybody so they could write a book. And he's like, oh, by the way, I lied about it. And then they made a movie, and I guess they got more money for that. So yeah, win-win.
Tender, vulnerable moment of their lives, going through something that.
Yeah, maybe they're just super mega stressed out, and that's why they're experiencing weird shit. By
all accounts, seems extremely authentic and real. So I agree with you.
In fact, there was
not a shred of skepticism on display. Not even a little. There was zero skepticism there. Wow, these things. Yes, I've also seen these things. It's so amazing. I'm not going to be skeptical at all. There was no skepticism there. There was no inquiry of what you were seeing or why it was happening. No look at psychology or how the body responds. Nothing. God, you guys are useless. All right, what else we got here? Anything else? Now, by the way, there's no evidence at all. Oh, demon realm. Let's just skip to that. What about the demon?
And I think it's a great starter book for people that are really trying to figure this stuff out as well.
Talk about demons.
All right, so let's flip the script a little bit and talk about the other side of angels, because we've talked about all the positive, reassuring stories and revelations about angels.
Yeah.
But there's a dark side to it as well.
The dark side.
And what'd you learn through your research and writing about the demonic realm?
What did you learn in your research on the demonic? How would you even research it? There's nothing to research. Whatever.
Well, first of all, that it's real. And in the book, I tell the story about a highly respected Ivy League educated psychiatrist. So he's a medical doctor as well as trained in psychiatry, named Richard Gallagher. I have a quote from the former president of the American Psychiatric Association saying Richard Gallagher is a highly educated, highly reliable man of great integrity. So just extolling this psychiatrist as being a reliable source of information. Well, Dr. Gallagher, 20 years ago, he and his wife had 2 cats. And the cats got along great. They were best buddies. They slept together. Everything was fine. Until one night. And one night, these cats began attacking each other. I mean, venomous kind of attack, just snarling and clawing and trying to kill each other, ripping at each other. And they were just stunned by this. And they pulled the cats apart and put them in separate rooms and thought, what?
Wow. Fucking cats attacked each other. And you, oh my God, that never happens. What the fuck? Did he, I mean, the cats, what the fuck, man? This is somehow paranormal? Cats attacking each other for no reason. Yeah, that happens, man. That happens all the time. What the fuck are you talking about?
What in the world was going on there?
Cats attack each other, you idiots! Why is that like mystical or magical? Like the fucking cats attacked each other. They do that. What the?
9 a.m. the next day, the doorbell rings, and it was a predetermined appointment where a Catholic priest was bringing by a woman to be psychiatrically examined by Dr. Gallagher. She claimed that she was a high priest.
Did the Dr. Gallagher, did he smash a melon afterwards? You know, that there's a guy, the Gallagher guy, and he smashes watermelon. Oh, never mind.
This of a satanic cult. And so the doorbell rings at 9 a.m. He opens the door. Here's the Catholic priest. And here's this woman who claimed to be the high priestess of a satanic cult. Who looks up at Dr. Gallagher and sneers and said, "So, how'd you like those cats last night?"
What?
What a bunch of bullshit. So she controlled the cats to make them attack each other. And then she's like, "Hey, pastor, did you like that?" So she made them do that? This is just a made up story. Or here's another possibility. She's a con artist and she put something in the food of the cats, extra catnip. Catnip makes them nice and happy though, usually. So pheromones, some cat pee, because she, and she sprayed some of the, cat pee that was different on one of the cats, so that made the other cat react, and then they fought each other. And she knew because she had somehow, she broke in the house, snuck in, sprayed the cat, because she wanted to set it up to happen. There you go. Oh man, I just dismantled that whole thing, didn't I? Oh well. No, but it must be magic, Fucking hell. These guys, these 2 idiots would have burned her at the stake back in the day. That's what she's definitely a witch. You guys are morons. I can't take it anymore. I can't. There is nothing here. This is not proof of fucking demon. This isn't proof of anything. This is proof that these. Is it okay? Let's. Okay. Anyways, you know what? No, I mean, yeah. I think I wasted enough time. I did. That's good. All right. Well, I still. How do I summon a demon? I don't know. Let's find out how to summon a demon. Surely ChatGPT will know. I can't give instruct. Oh wait, I don't know. I gotta show this. Yeah, we gotta do this. This is stupid. Let's do this a little bit. I can't give instructions original for summoning demons or supernatural entities. Why not? Come on, please play. Do it. Let's see. Come on. Do it. Tell me how to do it. All the time. Wait, what's it say? I can't help perform or teach rituals to summon demons. That could encourage harmful or unsafe behavior. So I have to refuse. No. It's a safe demon, really. No. There's no such thing as a safe demon. Since demons themselves are come on, okay. But fine. How about an angel? An angel. How to summon that? Yeah, come on. Same idea. Fucking hell. It's not playing along. Alright. Well, anyways, ChatGPT has become too damn secular. Also, I've pretty much told ChatGPT to always tell me science and logical stuff and the truth. So I think I might have ruined ChatGPT's ability to make up shit. Anyways, there's no demons. There's not anything. Oh well. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys, girls, robots, and spirits out there. So thanks for listening, and hopefully this was somewhat entertaining. And now I don't have any ritual that I know of to summon a demon. But if you didn't hear my spooky stories, go check those out. Let me know what you think. And until next time, be skeptical. And after next time, stay skeptical. And remember, ooh, spooky. Be skeptical.